Get ready for another amazing episode of Rooted in Retail. Today, my guest is Susan Negen, co-founder of Whizbang Training and dear friend. And man, we talk about operations. Like if you want to save time, have less stress, have your employees be happier, then this is an episode for you. Trust me. One thing that you take away from this episode could save you a lot of time, a lot of hassle, could give you more free time on however you want to spend that. So I love this conversation, and operations are so critical to running a successful store. And so Susan breaks down, she's got specific things that you can implement, like frameworks that you can implement that she talks about today. Then we also talk about their brand new platform, Brilliance. I can't wait for you to learn more about this. I think this is a game changer to your store and to our industry. So that we cover it all in this episode. You'll learn all about it. Be excited for that. And then we also close out with what do retailers need to know today? Where do they need to be focusing? And what's coming in the future that they really need to be paying attention to and embracing? And I couldn't agree more with what Susan shares. Plus, we have awesome answers for the resilience round. So let's dive in. If you want to learn more about Whizbang Training, go to whizbangtraining.com. They've got a lot of great resources for retailers. You can sign up for their weekly newsletter. And let's dive in to today's episode. Welcome to Rooted in Retail. I'm your host, Crystal Vilkaitis. Here we have engaging and informative conversations with successful indie retailers and industry experts. Together, we learn, connect, and grow. Don't miss our live after the show every Tuesday night in the Rooted in Retail Facebook group. All right, here's today's episode. Susan, welcome to Rooted in Retail. I'm thrilled you're here.
I am so excited to be with you today, Crystal. Yay!
I know. Yay. You are super rooted in retail. So we're going to talk about some operations today and educational aspects to a retail store and some of the things that are happening now and coming. Like we've got a lot to talk about, but before we do, will you take a couple minutes, and for those listeners who maybe aren't familiar with you, will you tell them about your retail journey?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you want to talk about rooted in retail, I started in retail, selling on a retail floor at a little women's boutique when I was in high school. You know, that was way back in the day when the blouses were had the big puffy bows on them. And
yes,
professional attire for all women was like skirts and blazers. That's when I started a long time ago, and then just have always loved retail. And out of college, I started working for huge department stores, big giants like Bloomingdale's and Macy's, Lord & Taylor, and was an executive for a big department store in retailing for a long time. Then decided I was going to get out of retail. I was done. I was burned out and I was tired. So I decided I was going to move to Michigan, where my family was living. And who did I meet? Lo and behold, literally the first week that I went to Michigan, this cute guy in the bar, and I was really interested in him. And of course, he owned a retail store. So that's my husband, Bob. And so I started working with him and his brother in their store. So together we owned and ran this independent retail store called the Mackinac Kite Company. He owned that business for 20 years. And then he and I together started Whizbang Retail Training. And we've been working with independent retailers, helping them build better businesses, create more fulfilling, exciting businesses for themselves, for their employees for 20 years, over 20 years now. So my whole life has been rooted in retail, really. So
it really has. Yes. So this is the best, perfect platform for you to be here. And my audience is going to learn so much from you. I love that you went so big down to our indies, and you and Bob are making such a difference to our independent retailers. So I thank you guys so much for how you show up for them. And I want to dive in because I know a big thing that you helped Bob do with his retail store is get it tight with operations. And then this is what you guys do for your retailers as well. And so many of our retailers want less stress, more time. And so what strategies or tools would you recommend for retailers to save time, reduce stress? And can you share an example when these have been particularly effective?
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is exactly what Bob and I did when we were at the Mackinac Kite Company with his business. The business was growing. We were adding stores. We had a whole set of satellites, those little kiosks in the
Oh, yeah.
malls. Like we had like 15 or 20 of those little kiosk satellites in the mall selling yo-yos. And the business was growing and expanding. And we had to develop systems and procedures in order to run the business so that we didn't go insane, so that and mostly important, so that our customers got the great experience in every one of our stores every time they interacted with our company. Even if Bob wasn't there, I wasn't there, maybe people we never knew or hadn't even met before were there interacting with our customers. So what we had to do was really learn how to build these systems to run our business effectively. And so that's kind of what we've been doing for the last 20 years or more, is helping our indie retailers understand what these different skill sets are in your business, these different systems that you have to develop and put in place, and help them understand what they are, give them the templates, the systems, the processes, so that you can run a better business without being insane, without driving yourself crazy. Because if you try to do this scattershot, if you try to just whip it up off the top of your hat, it's going to make you nuts. And
Yeah.
I know that a lot of retailers can definitely relate to that.
Oh,
So,
for sure.
as a matter of fact, even our flagship product that we have developed is called the Retail Mastery System. Like, it really is. And inside that big system, there are all these little systems. They all work together to help you run your business.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Like, I'll give you a couple of little teeny systems,
Okay.
and then maybe some bigger ones that people can think about. So one little teeny system that we put in place at the Mackinac Kite Company and have been teaching is the opening and closing checklist. Like, that is a little teeny system for how does your team, you and your team, how do you come in? How do you set the store for the day? How do you get ready and prepared to greet your customers? And then at the end of the day, how do you wrap it up? How do you reset? How do you get your store ready to go operationally for the next day? So it's a little teeny system. It can be easy, it can be complicated, but it's a little system that really starts to minimize stress. So if everybody's following this system, stuff doesn't happen, like the trash cans are overflowing, or there's no change in the register, or the people from the night shift didn't tell the day shift people what happened, and there was a customer issue. So, like, all these little things that happen, you can set this system in place that really helps you run your store with less stress and better service for your customers. So that's one tiny little system. That's a really little one.
So good.
And then there are really big systems that we like to think about, like an open to buy planning system. What's the system that you use for thinking about how much merchandise you bring in? When do you bring it in? When do you mark it down? These are, instead of like just making these decisions one by one, if you can put it into a systematic, kind of more strategic approach, it's so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier for you, and it brings you more profit, brings you more sales, all these different things. So that's a bigger kind of system.
Yeah.
But those are two examples of all different kinds of systems that you can bring into your business that really can help.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I think that we hear from our retailers all the time. They need to save that time. They're like the busiest business owners I've ever met. And
100%.
systems are not sexy. They're not fun. They take work to set up. And I
Yeah.
know that often, because I've been there, I'm a small business myself, like it takes time to set up the system, but it will save you time long run. And to your point about the experience, I we're going to get to the resilience round. And the last question I ask is about what does the future of independent retail look like? And so many of my guests mention experience. And so one of those ways that you can ensure that it's a good quality, consistent experience is that you have to have these systems. And I want to call out, we did an episode with two Bostons, Adrienne, who I know you know well. She did a shout out to Whizbang training because she follows the retail mastery system to a T. She has 7 store locations and she's able to have these consistent experiences at 7 different locations because she has systems. So we'll link to that episode, but it's so critical. They've got to take the time to build these systems, even if it's that like the open to close. If anybody listening to this right now does not have that, that's your action item. That's your first
Number
step.
one.
Yes. Create that.
Exactly. And Crystal, it's funny because we even have a system for if they don't have enough time to build their systems.
We
really do.
Smart.
And we call it the retailer's time system. Like we are big into systems and processes. And the reason that it's so important to us, and it should be so important to the indie retailers, is that this is how you can have that business of your dreams.
Yep.
That's profitable, that's fun, that's easy to run, that doesn't take over your life. And you have to build these things. I'm going to just say the retailer's time system really quickly. It is in the retail mastery system. There's 4 F's. We call it the 4 F's. Floor time, focus time, flex time, and free time. So the idea is that you need to understand and block and manage these 4 kinds of time that all of us have. So floor time, obviously, that is when you are on the floor specifically to work with customers and coach your staff. Floor time, you are working with customers or coaching your staff. You're not taking calls from vendors. You're not trying to post on social media while you're on the floor. You're not trying to get that purchase order in between customers. No. That kind of time is the other kind of time called flex time. And that's your multitasking time. Those are the times when you're doing your administrative kinds of work. Flex time. Floor time is when you're working with your customers, working with your staff, coaching them. Flex time, all this administrative stuff, all these little important things that need to get done in every business, but they are not the things that leap your business forward. Let's put it that way. Okay. Focus time. This is the big one. This is where you actually get to work on all of your other systems. Focus time is when you don't flex, you're not multitasking, you are not on the floor, you're not answering questions from your team, you're not interacting with your customers, you are focused on some important business building activity in your business. Maybe it's building your marketing plan. Maybe it's building your staff training program. Maybe it's working and running your open to buy plan. Maybe it's building your assortment plan for the year. Whatever it is, whatever your big projects are, whatever those big important chunks of work that are the things, those systems that move your business forward, that's what you do in focus time. And if you organize your floor time, your flex time, and your focus time, what you get in the end is free time. And that is when you have time off completely away from your business. We talk about a free day as being 24 hours where you don't think about your business, you don't check your sales, you don't log into your business email, you're not checking your social media. And I know you guys are all out there freaking out right now, like, I can never do that. You can if you have the systems.
Exactly.
Now, this is what we've seen over and over with all of our best clients that we work with, is once they start to put even just a few of these systems in place, suddenly they have time for themselves. They've got time for their families. They've got time to go on vacation.
Yes. Oh, and I've heard from your case studies from your clients who, like Maureen, who now goes to Italy for a month or more every year with her family, very successful retailer. and she's got this time off. Now, I would really love to know, our listeners, if you want to share this with us, we would love to know. Otherwise, you need to be thinking about this. What time allocation are you giving to those 4 Fs? And is there opportunity for you to be more balanced? Susan, do you try to have an even pie chart here where everything has 25%, or it really
No,
depends? Okay.
no.
Walk us through that.
What you're going to do, if you think about the pie chart, that's a great analogy. So I'll just run with that. So
Okay.
if you think about the pie chart, most people right now, probably if you're thinking about your time allocation, a massive chunk of the pie is flex time. Massive. Maybe the whole pie. I don't know.
Right.
Could be the whole pie. Right. But what you want to try to do is determine, like, set yourself how much floor time you want to be on the floor. Is it 3 days a week? Is it 3 days a month? Depending on your business, depending on the size of your business, what kind of business you have, what your personal goals are, that floor time, you should try to set that floor time first. And that's kind of sacrosanct. This is when I'm on the floor. This is when I'm working with my customers. This is when I'm working with my team. Then from there, what you want to try to do is take that flex time, and you want to minimize the flex time as much as you possibly can. And you want to start chunking in and scheduling. This is the key thing about focus time. You want to start scheduling chunks, more and more chunks of focus time, because the more you can work in focus time and the less you can work in flex time, that multitasking time, the more you're going to get done and the more important and effective things you're going to get done in your company. So the trick is, if you have to spend all of your time on the floor selling, working with customers, working with your team, it is tough then to get that focus time, which is why it all turns into flex time. You're trying to do everything all at once, all at the same time, right?
Yep.
So part of it is building your sales to the point where you can hire a team, get staff members on the floor to give you that time away from the floor to build your business.
Awesome.
So
I bet. I love that we broke that down, because we have to have the right time allocation to the right things in order to have our sanity and to have the business you want. If you want that time off a month in Italy, then you need to really be restructuring your time and how it's being allocated. And I bet some retailers laughed at like the free time, like, that's hilarious. But if you laughed or you like felt tightness when you heard that I don't have that free time, pay attention to that. Now do the work, sit down, look at your tasks. What can your team help you with? Schedule in that time to focus, because that's going to help you build your business and create those systems so you can have the free time. I think it's so important.
Yeah, I think just start here. If you aren't chunking your focus time right now, just start here. Take between 2 and 4 hours a week and put it on your calendar. Maybe it's Monday afternoon. Maybe it's Friday morning. 2 to 4 hours a week, every week. And take that time, and maybe don't try to do your focus work in your office, because what's going to happen. Hey, boss, I got a question. Hey, your favorite customer's here. They're going to be knocking on the door. So maybe you go to a coffee shop, maybe you work from home. What we sometimes have done at Whizbang Training is we close our door and we put a little sticky note on it. We have a cottage up in Canada. And when we go away to the cottage, we're like in Canada. We're on an island. Nobody can reach us. There's no telephone or anything like that. So we put a little sticky note that says, I'm in Canada, which means like, I'm gone. You can't reach me. Figure it out on your own.
Yes.
But if you do that, think about that, guys. If you did that for 2 to 4 hours a week and you spent time working on your training program, building out your marketing plan, fine-tuning your assortment plan, creating partnerships with your vendors, if you did that for 50 weeks a year, I guarantee you would have a transformed business in a year.
For sure.
2 to 4 hours a week. Just start there. Then, of course, as you can increase that and decrease your flex time, awesome.
I love it. I love it. And this is a perfect transition into talking about education, because I'm such a believer of the more you learn, the more you earn. And would you consider the focus time, is that also education? If you are learning, you're going through a course, you're going to a conference. Is that under that bucket?
Absolutely, that is focus time. Because like you say, the more you learn, the more you earn. You have to have good input. You have to always have great input in order to give great output. You need to learn and grow and think. You do, your managers do, your employees do. It's this skill building and this education that we get that allows us to get better and better and better, right? It's how you learn what the systems are. It's how you learn how to execute these systems in your businesses. So it's absolutely, education is so, so important. Educate, and I did mention education for you, education for your managers, education for your team.
Yeah.
If all you have on your floor are nice, kind, friendly, helpful people, that'll take you some way in the retail business. But what you need are retail superstars. You need people who know exactly what to do, exactly the way you want them to do it, who have all of the information they need to be really super successful, just like you need to have all the information that you need to be successful in your role as, business owner or store manager. So like everybody needs that time.
They need it. And it's going to make such an impact on you, your team, your bottom line. I'm just such a believer. I know that you have a lot of educational training resources. We do too. And this is where I want to talk about Brilliance, something that I think is so brilliant, because I'm going to let you do the talking on this, but we're talking about operations here and we're talking about education. And if only there was a platform that could allow for these things to coexist and be easy on the retailer. So Susan, do you know of any kind of platform like that?
Well, gosh, Crystal, yes, I do. We are just in the final phases of finishing our Brilliance retail training platform, and we are so excited. And this kind of came as an epiphany to me when I was doing some education, when I was taking a training course about 2 years ago. And I was listening to this guy talk about different kinds of businesses and how businesses can be built. And I just had this epiphany that this is what we needed to do. Think of it like a marketplace, like a place where independent retailers can come, get all kinds of training for their employees, any kind of training, all in one place, and also create their own company training program, their own company training platform. So, for example, if you wanted your marketing team or your social media team to get great training on social media, you might take a course from Crystal Volkaitis, the Queen, right? Or you might create your own course for your employees, onboarding courses like, where do I park? How do I get time off? How do you run the POS system? What's your return policy at this store? So like all of this kind of training that you need to do for your own store, you can create that. And we're also going to be adding lots of product training. So brands and vendors and manufacturers are going to be putting product training on there that you can assign your employees to get that information that's relevant to your industry, to your store, to your business. So all of the training is going to be living all in this one place where it's easy for you to find, assign to your team, check to see if they've done the work, if they've understood the work, and track and manage all of that learning that you know that you should do, but you don't have time to create it yourself. Right now, it's so fractured for everybody, I think.
Yes.
Maybe they want to learn something from one vendor and they have to go over here, and they want to learn something else and they have to go over there. So we're trying to bring everything together in this one place so that it's super easy for the retailers to give all their employees all the training they need in one place. So
yeah,
that's what we're doing.
It really is brilliant. I love the name of it. And for our listeners, it's everything, like Susan was saying, in one platform. So you have one login and password, that you have your internal and external training, and take the time to set that up, because then you will have less stress and more time. Yeah. Susan mentioned a key word here too, of track. You can track your team of what they have gone through. You can assign them to go through training, so there's accountability. I love that you guys baked that into this platform. I feel like
Right.
you don't see that in a lot of other platforms that are out there. And, you can tell people watch this video, but
Yeah.
you don't always know. Yeah. Like,
And maybe they did, and maybe they didn't, and you'll
yeah.
never know.
Exactly. And you can even do quizzes so you can make sure they're actually retaining the information. And
Right.
so that's so smart on all levels of your policies and how you do things and your culture and how you answer sales questions and work with customers and all the product training, like all that in one. And then your external training where vendors like me and amazing people we've had on the show and I'm sure you guys, Whizbang's going to have a bunch of training in there, like
Yep.
all accessed or all you can access it all in this one platform. So I'm very excited for this to be live and I feel like this is a game changer to our industry
I
and I'm
hope
just
so.
grateful for you guys leading this charge and building this because it's going to help the retailer be more successful. It's going to make it easier on them. And so thank you guys for doing this. It's pretty awesome.
Well, we're super excited. Again, it's another system. It's a plug and play system actually
Yeah.
that people can put in their stores. Part of the reason that we were, trying to learn more about this and how I got the idea was it's always been so frustrating for us that we know and our retailers know that giving great training and developing an awesome training program for your team is so important. Honestly, it's one of the things that you can do as an owner that's going to give you back your time.
Yep.
Right? Because otherwise, you are the only repository of the knowledge. You have every answer. You have to solve every problem. You have to do the training over and over and over and over and over again. So it was so frustrating. We knew that this was so important, and yet it was a thing that just kept getting pushed to the back burner for our retailers. And so we're like, well, we're gonna figure this out and make it happen for you. So that's where we came up with this idea. So we're super
Yeah. You did it. People are going to love it. Congrats. I know that's a big job and you've been working
yeah.
on this for a while. I've had the inside scoop on it and I'm really glad that we're able to talk publicly about it now. And I can't wait. We'll link to it in the show notes, of course. But Susan, how can people go learn more about Brilliance?
Yeah, you can go to retailbrilliance.com and learn more about it and create your free account. Actually, you can create an account for free on there, browse around, see what's there. You can add your employees for free. And until you start accessing the information and materials, everything you want to do on there is all for free. So, and there will be free courses available on Brilliance, I'm sure, as well. So
Yeah.
all kinds of different ways people can get great training for their staff.
I love it. We're going to have
Yeah.
a free course. So go there, check it out. Yeah, so good. Now, Susan, you guys, you do so much at Whizbang Training. And one of those things is your Platinum Mastermind group. And we've worked with some of those with some of those retailers too. And they're some of the most savvy, successful retailers that we've worked with. So I love when guests can share like an insider secret or you pull back the curtain on something. So could you give us an insider's view and share a specific strategy that's been highly effective for maybe one of your Platinum Mastermind group members?
Okay, well, I'll just share a little Brilliance one that just happened if that's okay.
Perfect.
I can share some others too, but we just had our Platinum Mastermind group meeting last couple months ago, and we always do this part of our meetings called What's Working Now. And we've turned it into a little competition, actually. Like we get to vote at the end on who's got the very best What's Working Now. And I was excited that at our last meeting, 4 of our 25 members brought Brilliance, their training on Brilliance as their What's Working Now. But specifically one that I want to talk about is Angela Scogan. And she put some vendor training from one of her very high-end products. It's Ankerstrom is the name of the brand. It's a countertop mixer, kind of like a KitchenAid mixer, but way fancier. And they cost almost $1,000. Okay. Like a mixer for $1,000 or $800. So somewhere between $800 and $1,000. She put this 3 little product training series course up on Brilliance on her own custom course. She had her entire team go through it right before they had their weekend Ankerstrom promotion event, and they sold 6 in 2 days.
Dang.
Like it's systems like this, product training, training for your team, education, being systematic about your learning, huge result in her sales in just 2 days, right?
Wow.
Yeah. And of
That
course that carries through, right? Now they have that training and they can continue to go back to that training and get refreshers whenever they want. So that's just one little example. We also love working with Management One. Like you, they're one of our favorite partners. And one of our fave clients, Ryan Matthews from Anchorage House of Hobbies up in Alaska, has started to do some work around building his open to buy system with some help from Management One. And like the massive change he's seen in the amount of outdated merchandise, the far fewer number of SKUs that he has to carry, the less total volume has really helped improve not only his sales, but profit levels. So like that's a great system that's been working for people. It's,
awesome.
There's so many, I can't even begin to count.
Oh, sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I hear all these too, because, sometimes we work with the client or I hear them at the Retail Success Summit and so you guys are producing such cool results, but thank you for sharing 2 of those because it's fun for us to hear that behind the scenes sort of and what other people are seeing work. Now, I want to talk about, before we go into our resilience round, kind of what you're seeing that we need to focus on today, and then we'll look ahead to the future as well. So, for today, from your extensive retail experience, what major industry changes should retailers adapt to today?
Well, I think that one of the things that we've been talking about over the last couple of years that is still really true is that if we're focusing in on this whole idea of WWMCW, is what we teach, what would my customer want? Really understanding that your customer wants to interact with you and your brand and your store in many, many different places. And we have to keep responding to that. And is it work? Absolutely. But they want to shop with you on social. They want to shop with you on your website. They want an amazing experience when they shop in your store. They want to participate in your events outside of your store. Maybe it's something with a nonprofit. But we really have to understand that we can't wait for them to come and play our way, the way we like it. We have to go out and give them this omni experiential experience with our brand. We have to go out and meet them where they are and where they, it's nothing new, but it's continuing to strengthen over, really since the pandemic, and it's becoming more and more important today. We're seeing it more and more, I think, every day.
Oh, for sure. I think it's only going to increase. We want that convenience. We want the engagement. I mean, what we've been seeing recently with TikTok shops over the past 6 months, that's been crazy. And that's another channel now. And
Absolutely.
So I think you're right. You have to embrace it. And I will say, watching retailers embrace it and make it through on the other side, it isn't that scary. Like, it feels like it's really scary, or it feels like I could never do that. But so many times retailers have just done it anyways. They've done it afraid. They learn. The easiest way to learn is you dive in, you start using it, and then you start seeing those results. And then so many times we've had people cry, like, I could have never imagined this level of success or these results, because they didn't think they could do it. So I love that you're encouraging them, embrace it. You
have to embrace it.
Yeah.
And again, that's where that like little 2 to 4 hours of focus time a week, it makes all the difference. That's where you get the time, the mental focus to take these new steps, even if you're afraid, right?
Yep.
That's when you can make forward progress on these new things. So don't forget that little focus time tip that we talked about. So
exactly.
Important.
I'm glad that you made that reminder, because a lot of people say, I don't have time for social. I don't have time to launch my email or get my email out. And it's like, well, then how much focus time do you have? And there's a good chance you're not scheduling that in and committing to it. So it's a great reminder.
Exactly.
Okay, now
and it's probably because they're putting out fires on the sales floor.
Yep.
And if you don't have the great team in place with all of the knowledge that they need, that
Right.
see it all. That's really kind of why we built the retail mastery system too, was like, you can't take one of these pieces out without it impacting and affecting the others. So like, if you can really start building some of these foundational pieces, then it gives you the space to grow and do some of these more fun and interesting things in your business.
Exactly. So good. They all work together. You got to
Yeah.
look at the whole picture here. Now, looking ahead, what future trends in retail should independent retailers prepare for to stay competitive?
Gosh, it is such a great question. I think we're going to have to continue to look at AI. I know that this last year has really been a lot about this large language modeling with Chat GPT and all that stuff. But I think that AI is so much bigger than that. And I think we have to keep watching and listening way out into the forefront. Like, maybe as independent retailers, we don't adopt as early as some of the people do, although the way trends are moving and tech is moving, it's democratizing all of this. Like, the big boys don't have as much of an advantage as they used to in this area. But
True.
I think we have to be looking way out into the future at what could this do for us? How will this impact us? I feel like with AI, we're about where we were in like 1988 with the internet. And
Yep.
like the World Wide Web was like just there. Like, it was just barely a thing. And look what it is today.
Exactly.
So I feel like that's the thing that we're going to have to keep watching and learning and keeping an open mind about.
Yes.
Trying little things, not just with these large language modeling like Chat GPT, but what is the bigger expansion that's going to be happening in business in general and in retail in particular. So
exactly. I could not agree with you more. We are talking so much more about AI as well.
Yeah.
We're using it more. I use it every single morning. I joke to my team like it's my new best friend. So you just have to, again, that word embrace, like you have to embrace it.
Yeah.
You will be left behind. And I couldn't agree more. Susan, are you ready for the resilience round?
Let's hear it.
Let's do it. Best business book.
All right. So, wow, it's so hard because I love so many of them. I love Influenced by Cialdini. I think that's great. I love Give and Take by Adam Grant. I love that one. But I'm going to say that my go-to right now, and I think it's such an important book for entrepreneurs and retailers in general, is The Gap and the Gain by Dr. Ben Hardy and Dan Sullivan. Like, seriously, you should read this book. It's a little book. You will feel so great when you're done reading this book, and you'll feel so empowered when you're done reading this book. Have you read it?
I have. And as you're saying this, I'm like, I need to read this again. I have it.
Yeah.
It was such a fast read. It was such a good read. Such a great suggestion.
Read. Yeah, such a great read. So The Gap and the Gain.
Awesome. Okay. Best retail technology, like an app or software?
Brilliance, of course.
I was hoping you'd say that.
You gave me there, Crystal. Thank you.
Yes.
No, Brilliance for training you and your whole entire team is going to be the app for sure.
Absolutely. Love it. How do you keep up with the ever-changing retail landscape?
I just try to do a lot of reading. So everything from retail specific reading, but also like really big picture reading, like the Economist magazine or Scientific American. Like it's I know it sounds weird, but it's all of those changes out there in the world that start affecting us day to day to day to day.
Yeah.
So
smart. I think it's really smart.
Yeah.
To help retailers be stronger, more rooted in success, what's an operational foundational best practice?
Okay, I'm gonna give 3 because I think these are the 3 pain points that retailers have most. Number one, I think you need to develop a complete annual marketing plan. And it just takes all the stress away when you have a plan for what you're going to do to bring traffic in your door. That's what marketing is. It brings traffic in the door. So when you get traffic, that's a big chunk. Second one is to think about putting an open to buy system into place. I'm a huge fan. An open to buy plan is what's going to help put money in the bank account, right? So it really helps with your cash flow, helps with your overall profitability, helps with developing sales. So that's the second one. And a staff training program. Like, your team is such a critical component of your success. You can use Brilliance. I don't care if you use Brilliance. Use something else. I don't care. But you have to develop a training system for your team so that they know what they're supposed to do, how they're supposed to do it. They have all of the confidence and competence and enthusiasm that they need and your customers need when they're on your sales floor, because otherwise everything rests on you. Mm-hmm. And if everything always rests on you, you don't have great people working for you, you're overwhelmed and life is not fun. Exactly. So I would say those three are traffic, money, staff. Those are the things that keep people up at night. Yep. And so those are the three systems that I would take a look at.
Beautiful. Excellent advice. Yeah. If you had to start your business all over again, what's one thing you'd do differently?
If I had to start my business all over again, this is something that happens with me personally, but I would try things and put things out there that weren't quite ready yet. Like, this is happening right now. Brilliance, right? Like you just got to put things out there, whether it's a display or your training program or build your marketing plan. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just get it going. Just get stuff started. Don't worry if it's perfect. Don't worry if it's complete. Just get it going.
Done is better than perfect.
Done is better than perfect. We always say, don't let perfection get in the way of progress.
Yes. Oh, I so agree. That's a good one. So, finally, what do you think the future of independent retail looks like?
Oh my gosh, it's so incredibly bright for you guys. Like I think I alluded to it earlier, that all the technology that's been developed really, like, in the last just 5 years even, has flattened the competitive landscape. The technology that all of the big boxes and big tech players, all the advantages that they had, it's starting to flatten, so that you independent retailers have all of the opportunities, all of the tools, all of the technology, all the abilities that these guys have. And what you have is your own unique personality, your face, your connection with your customers, your connection with your communities, your ability to move and maneuver and shift and change more quickly than these guys can. So you have so many advantages. And so I think that the future of indie retail is super bright. I love it. Really excited.
Yeah, I am too. I totally agree with everything you said. So good. Susan, how can people learn more?
Well, they can come and visit us at whizbangtraining.com. That's WHIZBANG, Whizbang Training, or go check us out at retailbrilliance.com.
Love it. Susan, thank you so much for joining me today. This was such a good, helpful conversation.
Always love hanging with you, Crystal.
Yeah, same. Everyone, remember that I am rooting for your success. Have a great week ahead. Bye. Thank you so much for being here. It means the world to me. Don't forget to join the Rise and Shine newsletter, which is social media news you need to know, sent via email every Monday morning. Go to crystalmediaco.com/rise to join. And don't miss the newest episode of Rooted in Retail, which drops every Sunday morning.